Genius of the team.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is August 8th. We got another chart talk coming at you guys. We got the S&P about 12% off lows that we hit. I think it was 4 trading weeks ago. We've been on a pretty vicious tear, and looks like we're starting to see stocks get a little bit sluggish at major resistance levels. So the next question is, where do we go from here? Is it time for a pull-in? Is it time for consolidation for the next move higher? I'm not too sure right now, but I know I'm not loading the boat with risk in this area when it's so choppy. We'll get into the charts in a bit. Ben, what are you thinking over there?
I mean, definitely the same thing. I'm going to share my screen really quick.
Yeah, I'll get to mine after.
Yeah, so like Shake mentioned, Shake mentioned this, 10% run up the last week or two. This month, market's up almost 20% off of lows. And we're seeing this clear shift into more of this base if we're looking at these kind of horizontal green lines with, we'll call 420 for simple numbers being resistance, 360 being support. And it looks amazing up here, but we're at resistance. We've just kind of a very big run this last month, last few weeks. So we almost have to expect some type of consolidation, some type of pullback, something to keep us kind of in this range. And eventually in time, we'll definitely push up to this 420, but we definitely need to kind of reset. And if you look at a lot of individual sectors, utilities, for example, is a chip shot away from all-time highs, where a few weeks ago we were near, or 2 months ago, a month ago, we were near 52-week lows in that sector, for example. So definitely time to offer some stock out into this resistance in this broad range.
Right, I couldn't agree more. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, you can.
Share screen. Where we at? Is it? So we got my screen up.
Yep.
All right. Yep. So as you said, we got this massive trend line resistance area coming in hot. We have rates. Rates are starting to catch a bid. Oil. I'm wondering now if we see an up move from oil. It's come in so much so quickly. Everyone is so certain that rates. That inflation has peaked because oil's come in so much. Energy was, of course, the leading cause of inflation. So now the price of oil has come in so much. Are we seeing inflation peak? And that's what we find out Wednesday. That's the big information this week. So CPI Wednesday is going to drive this market. As I was saying in the shakedown, and you covered pretty clearly, we're just at a massive resistance area, this 420-ish in the Qs here, right around this 322 area. So, how to win in this market trading wise is definitely taking your singles and doubles. Don't, go for too big of a move because it's so choppy where you're likely giving it back. So, I'm just sticking with that theme of, singles and doubles. That's really it. I'll stop the screen share. Where are we going from here?
Top ideas?
Top ideas. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. So it didn't matriculate today, but I love this Duolingo. I keep talking about it. It's a beautiful base. They have it's an app where they teach languages similar to Rosetta Stone, but much more user friendly. The user interface is really great. Let me share my screen. What am I doing? So here's the Duolingo daily chart. We love this base. It's been forming all year. And let me get these earnings up real quick. Seeking Alpha, where you at? So big beat, top and bottom line. They're growing their revenue 50% year over year. We love to see that. And then where was it? They went into quick little details about these earnings. Nope, not there. Whatever. Y'all take my word for it. So they're just growing tremendously, top and bottom line. They're seeing their user base growth, daily active users, monthly active users, all these things that we love for app companies. So sitting in a huge base, we look at the weekly chart. It's just really well developed. Back to the daily chart. So they had earnings Thursday night. They had 1 day of trading. They gave a little strong day. They're weak today, but it's a high beta tech name. So I'm not too worried about it. When the market wants to bid again and wants to take out this 106 area, this is my favorite setup right now. Another one, CWEN. Um, utility name. You're just mentioning utilities. So my thesis is that all these utility names, if you're looking at their earnings, they're the moves they're making are pretty tremendous. It was very surprising to see where it's, when we think of utilities, we think of names not moving too much, kind of market correlated, safe haven stocks. But we're seeing, like, look at this Southern. Here was earnings. They ripped from 73 to 78 in 4 short days. You can type up a bunch of names that are looking like that. And as you mentioned, the XLU utility sector, they're marching towards highs. It seems like this sector is ready to continue higher. I'm comfortable saying that I think utilities lead for the next couple of months. And wouldn't that make sense if the market's ready to pull in, then utilities begin to lead? So this name CWEN, Clearwater Energy, I like this one a lot through this 3830 area. That one's looking pretty solid. And I got a bunch of earnings names just like that. This COOP, Mr. Cooper, hang on Mr. Coop. Nice little earnings flag forming right here. Looking to enter this one through 46. Love the earnings gap up. Then it holds the gap. Low key, one of the most bullish things the stock can do. EQIX is on that list. Gaps up, holds the earnings gap, creates a little flag. The one thing I don't love about this one, we're staring at the 200-day simple moving average overhead. So the longer that this one goes sideways, the closer this 200-day simple moving average would get. If it comes down to the 720 area and it triggers the trade triggers at the same time, that could be a high probability situation where it's taking on multiple layers of resistance. So definitely keep an eye on that one. CHRW, this one triggered a bit today. So we see this macro level forming right here. We see the big move on earnings this day right here. And now we got a little mini daily flag coming. So I know some people are buying this 111 area. This 112 is the macro resistance. I would, of course, love to see a little more sideways, but we'll see what we get. And then this NOC, I think this one still has time to matriculate. So setting up a bit, but definitely watching this 490 area for that breakout. We've seen these defense stocks. They've just refused to roll over all year. So that makes me think, when they finally want to get to the top of this range, they do break out. We saw this huge reaction on earnings these 2 days. So now it's just working on the flag, and we're waiting on that 490 for the next move. So those are the main things I'm looking at for the rest of the week. I do like this arch short still when it, if it ever wants to take out this 120, if it wants to bounce from here, I'll let it go without me. But, we'll see on that one. What are you looking at over there? I'm going to stop sharing the screen. We're back.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. So again, we're talking on Zoom right now. To the chart talk, Zoom, we can see this big base forming since basically March up to this 125 time. And that was kind of a big thing that I've noticed with a lot of individual stocks, more the bigger leading names, the Amazons, the Googles, that we're seeing a lot of these, CRM, for example, a lot of these bigger bases forming. And that's, that's good things we want to see if we expect the market to push higher with time. As those breakdown stages, those dramatic drops of these stocks have already seen the beginning half of the year. It's kind of over now. Zoom has gotten really beaten up percentage-wise this year. And now we can see that consolidation starting to form here, where you can find that next entry to buy up through that base. Now, the thing you have to remember, though, is with these bases, the percentage range these names are in are still pretty significant. So, Zoom, the low is 80, in this base, the high is 125. It's a big percentage range. So you can't just blindly buy the break of 125 and give it versus 100, but you're risking more than 20%. So you have to still find proper entries, but these big bases can give you these more defined outs and defined entries when they're ready. So Zoom, nice base forming. This Google, nice, decent 20% range in this base as well. Again, not trying to perfectly buy this 120 as we saw today. It kind of got rejected, but if this can pull in, we can find something up through support and eventually buy through 120. I think that's going to be a nice trade there. This SGen, we've been watching this 180 for like weeks now. This horizontal and kind of diagonal resistance that's been forming in this name. Earnings are kind of out of the way. So this is one, keep it on the radar. A nice little tight flag here. Few member ideas that were mentioned. This ARG was mentioned earlier this morning up to this 380. It's looking pretty good. This was that prior all-time high. This was that retest, attempted it again. And eventually we can get that little sneaky buyback through the 380 area. CRM is another one like that Duolingo, big base that's been forming the last couple of months down here. We can see this very obvious breakdown stage And as it shifts into that base, and eventually when the base breaks, the stock should go into that breakout stage as it works way back towards highs. Lastly, this is one of Kush's ideas, recent IPO, this FNA up through 20. Nice little flag here, earnings out of the way. The only tough thing is a cheaper name, but it's more recent IPO. So, we're trying to find an entry in this one eventually through that $20 area. So those are a few top ideas that I'm keeping an eye on for the week ahead.
Kush is so funny. So he texted me a bunch of charts yesterday. He's like, yo, like I'm dying to hop on a call. Let's go. I was like, it's Sunday. Like, this is my day. Like, no calls today. Like, hit it. Like, let's do it tomorrow. He's like, bro, I start school. I don't get out till like fucking 4 p.m. I was like, all right. After school, I'll give you some real lessons. Yeah, he's good though. He was sending me a bunch of those charts. I forgot to answer. Good reminder. We'll hop in some good trade, bad trade.
Yeah.
All right, I got a few. You mentioned that Google. I traded this Google last week, and I'll tell you what I did good with it. So we see that obvious level 120 as you mapped out, big old base, and it gave a tiny little consolidation. This mini earnings flag right here. It's easier to see. Let's say a 30-minute chart. We see this little consolidation as moving up. So I was buying this little 116 area, just giving it to this 114-ish. And I was selling that 120. And the reason I say this is one of the good things I did was because I was just taking my single and double. I was recognizing that the NASDAQ, this is a highly correlated name to the NASDAQ. I was recognizing that, it's had this major run. It's coming up to this resistance level. This is not the time to put on the macro Google swing trade long through the resistance level. If I'm buying off support, that's different. But buying into resistance, you got to make decisions much more quickly in this environment. So that was a good one on my end. Another good one I had was this ABBV. This one was a short. As we can see, here's earnings day. They gapped down. We were initially looking at this ABBV as a long through this 155 area. Trade never triggered. So I never traded a share of it to the upside. And then it gaps down on earnings. And all of a sudden, it's testing this major support level. So I was watching it, what was that, Thursday. Let's go to the intraday chart, this 15-minute here. And I had a thesis the market would roll over. I saw it was acting very, very weak in the morning. This is when the market was catching a bid. So I began shorting the lows just against this high area. I hit some more through lows, and you can see the move that it made very quickly down to support. So then the following down Friday, it pushed through these lows and immediately reversed. And I just covered my position. I didn't overthink it. Listen, I probably could have captured more upside. I should be in it still. But again, what were we just talking about? Buying into resistance or shorting into support, you got to make decisions much more quickly. If these things aren't breaking out or breaking down, when you make these trades, usually you're going to be on the wrong side of it. And let me give you a perfect example. This bad trade I had was this arch short. I tried to short these new lows, shorting into support. And the mistake I made was that I hesitated and didn't really get out of stock like I maybe should have when it wasn't working. So we'll go to the 15-minute. And you see I shorted it in the beginning of the day off these lows. I was only in the money for 2-3 minutes, and then I take a full loss on the position when I get out of highs. When I short into support like that and it comes right back, if I'm day trading these things, that's when you got to make the quick decision to unload risk, to offload risk. There's no.
I'm sorry.
But yeah.
Can you share your screen? I can kind of see your screen through here. But as you're
Wait,
explaining
I'm not. My screen's not shared this whole time.
No.
Oh, I didn't click share.
Just just for the last one. There we go. So much easier. I don't want to interrupt before, but
man.
Just go over. Just continue from here. You don't have to backtrack, but
I'll backtrack quick so they get a better idea of what I was talking about. This Google. What I did with this Google, where we're in a huge swing trading environment, it gives me this mini daily flag to get involved. Normally, I would hold a huge portion of my stock to break this 120 for the greater move. But now, since we're in that choppy environment and I have recognition where the cues are, we did make that 20% move off lows. It's not the time to be loading up Google through resistance, given the market's running into a huge resistance level itself. Another one was this ABBV, where we were looking at this one long through 155, trade never triggered. So then this was earnings, this gap down here. We see this little bear flag forming. We go into a 15-minute chart. When it began to roll over, that's when I began shorting it. It makes these new lows, takes out that support area, and comes right back within that range, and that's when I decided to just cover it. And the reason it's a good decision is because we're taking singles and doubles right now, and then we go to Arch, where I messed up this trade. We can see I shorted these new lows, and thing came right back in my face. So as a short-term trader, as a discretionary trader, if I'm taking these day trades, when I short these new lows and it doesn't ever move in my favor, I'm shorting into support. I got to cover some for break even or a tiny loss, so I'm not taking a full size loss on that stock. So that's really what I've been getting into. Singles and doubles have been paying, and anytime I've been trying to get a little greedy with my trades, that's when I've been giving it back, and that's when frustration's been kicky and high. I've had a couple trades where I took them as singles and doubles where the trade kept going, and I was a little upset with myself. But then I had the flip side last week where I took those singles and doubles and it really worked out, and I'm much more happy I took the cash going into the weekend versus having the stress all weekend. Not booking those trades. It's still a difficult environment. We're 20% off lows. That doesn't mean it's a brand new bull market. So we're seeing the chop everywhere we go. So take the money when you got it. 2-to-1 winners are fine right now. What you been doing?
So I got two. Let me share my screen. The first one was shouts to Abby. I believe this was one of her ideas from the pre-market calls earlier this month. She was keeping an eye on a lot of. She's been very good at these, bigger breakdowns. These more beaten up stocks has kind of been where Abby particularly has been shining lately. And after seeing 5 or 6 of her ideas working, I jumped in with one of them with her, which was this FBHS up through this 64. We can see when we talk about this breakdown stage, this is what we refer to. Is the stock's breaking down. Let me move this line a little bit. Stock is breaking down. Very obvious. This is what we don't want to be involved in. We can even see broadly like the telecom sector, not the same, sector, but very clear. Another example, big breakdown state stock, a sector of stock is breaking down. We don't really want to be involved in that. But eventually, these patterns have to change, and bases start to form. So Abby spotted this base down here that kind of lined up with this macro downtrend the name was in. And I got involved with her. To be honest, I actually forgot about this trade. I had the backstop in. I had forgotten about it, and the name had traded higher, and I just kind of arbitrarily got out. This was, I bought up through 64, and let me zoom in a little bit because it zoomed out. It looks super tiny. I eventually got stopped out just looking through my account and seeing I was in the name, and I eventually just got stopped out this day. So I made a couple dollars. Again, this was a bad trade because I wasn't aware that I was in it. It just, my day-to-day just wasn't keeping a close eye on the account. So I made some money, but it was a bad trade. Still basing again. So if she was still in it, we had an entry through 64. There's a potential entry up through 70 as it, continues to base or continues to break out. So made money in it, but bad trade that I wasn't aware I was in it for a couple of days. This good trade for now has been this UPS. This is a name that we originally started to buy over a year ago, up through this 162, 64 area quite some time ago, and recently spotted this base that was forming and bought up through the break of the base after earnings. So for now, it's still kind of working. I personally do not have a 190 buy break even stop in because I've been, my cost basis overall is still much lower. But if from a swing trading standpoint, if this was my entry, I would probably have just a 190 break even stop. My ideal target, again, this is more of a longer term trade from my initial position, is to take some profits into this retest in this 230 area, if given the opportunity at some point this year. That's where I'll look to kind of take some profits. And that's it for my good and bad trade.
All right. All right. So that wraps us up. Real quick, unshare your screen. Let me share mine.
Yep.
Question to leave you with. All right.
Okay.
So this is the hot chart going around. Can you see my screen?
Oh, the overlay. Yep.
The overlay, the hottest chart there is on Wall Street right now. Give me your thoughts. Are the lows in for the year? How closely are we going to resemble this 2008 versus 2022? Does this chart matter at all because it's such a different scenario? Give me some thoughts. I want to hear. Are the lows in, and how similar do you think we follow this playbook?
So
and
I saw
meaning like they dump. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I saw a similar chart where a lot of time with these overlays they can make them misleading, where they can. Like I saw a different, I'll text you the image I saw, I think it was on like stock puts, where they overlaid 08 versus current, and it was identical. But the misleading part is
this is identical. You can see the blue and the black. This is pretty identical. The
No,
blue,
no,
the
but I'm
black
saying like
is now.
okay, no, but so the one that I saw, it didn't show the after effect. It like cut off where like the present day was. But my point
Uh,
was, or with this is that '08 took 2 years for peak to bottom. And information was passed along much differently back then as it is now. That I don't think it, if we were to break lows and push lower, I don't think we would take 2 years to bottom out or 2 years to recover. I think if we do continue lower or continue higher, all these moves will get much quicker in time. Just like in 2020, peak to bottom was 1 month, we dropped 30%. So I think we can break 360 to the downside. I definitely think that's a reality. I'm still thinking that we probably will test new all-time highs or retest our current highs by the end of the year or early 2023. So I don't believe
wow.
we're going to see a dramatic push lower. Do we shake lower? Possibly. I don't think there's a dramatic another 30% move lower from the current lows. I don't think that's really in the cards.
Do you think we touch new lows?
I definitely think that's a possibility. I think we need like a real hard shakeout of those lows. And we saw even that last bounce that we had in June, we had that like 10% run up, and then we had that 15% basically correction from that run up. And I think from this most recent one, it's a much more, it's a bigger percentage move higher. And I think we can just as easily still test that 360 without a doubt. I don't think that's like a hard line in the sand right now. I think that can easily be tested, but I still think just from seeing all those bases that we're seeing forming,
Right,
it's
right.
very hard to have a name base for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and then continue lower again, unless the name is dead. Like if it's a GoPro.
After it got chopped for
Yeah. If it's like a
60%.
GoPro
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stock, like that, those names are dead. CRM and Shopify and Amazon, all these names, big names that people are still using, that got taken to the woodshed and they're basing now. It's hard to expect that base to break to the downside. And I think that those are the things. Amazon alone will hold up the consumer discretionary sector by itself. Apple will hold up tech and things like that. Same with Google. So I don't necessarily think we're going to repeat '08. I don't think the fear is there. I know people are afraid of a recession, but we bounced 20% this week. And if you ask 9 out of 10 people what's a recession, they couldn't define it. So I don't think we have that rampant fear that we had in '08 when businesses really were closing. Lending was very difficult. Everything was a perfect storm on all fronts. Where right now it's just the current headlines that are fearful, but every month there's a new scary headline.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I
What
like
about
that
you? What do
take.
you
I
think,
like that
Shake?
take.
After my 10 minutes.
Uh, I think people have too short of a memory.
Mhm.
I believe I don't think this inflation issue is going away anytime soon. I don't think we see new highs this year. I don't think we see new highs till the middle of next year, like June.
Mhm.
So I think we do. I think we test these lows. I don't think we see a dramatic sell off. I think we just like tickle new lows. You get
Mhm.
everyone saying like the world's going to end, and then that'll eventually be the bottom. But I
Mhm.
don't think it's like new bull market back to highs. I think we got just some shit trading for the next year.
I see what
Just
you
just
get.
chop back and forth. And then when the Fed starts cutting middle of next year, that's when people get very bullish and growth and things like that. But I'm definitely in agreement with you that things definitely happen faster nowadays. The circulation of information is definitely 300 million times as fast as it was even 10 years ago. So I think that makes things happen more quickly. So very similar to you. I just don't. I'm not as bullish as you are. Thinking we get new highs by the end of the year. I would love it though. I would fucking love that. All right. Well, I guess that's all we got for you guys this week. You got any closing remarks for him, Big Dog?
So lasting thing again, we do again. It's going to be super hard to see, but we finally got in half of the puzzle. So we have in the trading experts watch cases that are going to come with the new trading experts watch, which should be completed hopefully this month. We're making a few minor alterations to it, and once we get, I put in the big picture. Once we get 60 pre-orders, I think we're like in the 40s right now. I'm gonna put like everyone's name basically in one of these, and we'll pick a few out, and a few of the members will get them for free. So
Sweet.
once we get, I think like 15 more pre-orders, we'll give a couple of them away for free, and that'll be a fun little thing we can do on one of these chart talks coming up.
All right. Love it. Love it. All right. With that, we will see you guys next time.